Hello, my name is Misha. I'm a DevOps engineer from the Netherlands and a master of note-taking. And in this video, I want to go into the modular nature of the Zettelkasten method. And this is part of the question that I'm trying to answer and how the Zettelkasten method actually makes one so productive. So like we established last week, Luhmann was one of the most prolific scholars in history, and he credited his Zettelkasten with his productivity. So how does that actually work? Why does a Zettelkasten make you productive, and how can a Zettelkasten assist you in your life? One key aspect of this is the modular nature of these nodes. So as we spoke about last week, every node in the Zettelkasten contains one idea. And this is very often referred to as atomic nodes. You will have heard this term probably. And I don't know why, but I never liked that term atomic nodes. So I have started to phrase it as modular nodes, or a modular approach to node taking, where each node is a module. Each node contains a single idea or concept written in your own words, becoming a self-contained unit of knowledge. So each node makes perfect sense in and of itself. So when you see your node in your system, it should make sense by itself because it just presents one idea clearly and well thought through. And I'm going to go deeper into this later in the video, but the point here is that you spend quality time with the node and craft it carefully, put effort into it, so that it becomes an independent, self-contained unit of knowledge that can function independently. And interestingly, this has parallels with software engineering principles or computer science principles. One of them is the principle in clean code, which I am currently exploring. And in here, he says functions should do one thing and they should do it well. They should do it only. And of course, clean code is full of controversy and all of that. But I do think it is an interesting parallel to draw here, where he states that functions should do one thing. And this also instantly reminded me of the UNIX philosophy, which states that programs should do one thing and they should do it well. And I really like that approach towards software engineering. I really like that idea that functions should do one thing and that they should do it well. And you can take this very literally, and I've heard other people speak about a function should handle one concept. I think that's a very good approach to it too. But the idea is that each unit shouldn't do 1,000 different things. It should just focus on one thing and do it well. And I think the same parallel can be drawn towards nodes in the Zettelkasten, where each node has one idea, it goes into it concisely and deeply, and it can function independently, meaning that it is written as if ready for publication. So I realized that not everybody in my audience is going to be blogging or writing on social media, and you don't have to, but I am a blogger and I use my note-taking system as a way to generate output, as a way to create content. And I take good care into writing each note as if it's ready to go on my blog. So when the time comes to write a blog post, I can just pull in my notes and I don't have to do much editing in order to make these notes presentable. This forces me to think deeply about the material, to write clearly, concisely, and to write well. But this also makes it so that the note can function independently because it focuses on one thing and it does it well. So I thought that was an interesting parallel here. What this allows, when your nodes can operate independently, it allows flexibility and reusability. You can recycle your writing. You can recycle your notes. Your nodes become independent building blocks. So when you have an argument, it's built up of several elements, and each node can become one element in the argument. This means that if you have a bunch of nodes, and they would all form an argument, so when you sit down to write, you pull in several nodes, and all of these form one article. Well, you can rearrange these nodes. You can rearrange the order, and you can pull in other unrelated nodes, and you can just stitch them together and see, oh, how does it fit in this context? And this way, you can be writing an article on something completely unrelated, and somehow you are reminded of a note that you wrote a month ago. Well, you can just pull that in and you can see how that fits. This is how I came up with this parallel of clean code principles. The UNIX philosophy. I was writing this article that's a basis for this YouTube video about the modularity of nodes. I hadn't considered the UNIX philosophy at all, but as I was writing, I thought, hey, this really reminds me of the UNIX philosophy. Well, I pulled in my notes from that and it worked very well. So this is just an anecdotal example of how having well-crafted notes can lead to unexpected connections. And there's also a visual aspect to it. So let's go to one of my notes in my early days of note taking. This is a note on Bicep, the Bicep language for infrastructure as code. Well, here is a document that contains many headings here. And I wrote a large note containing all of this information. Now, as I look back at this note, I see perfect opportunities for refactoring, you could say node refactoring, or to create independent nodes. Here, for example, is a heading that I wrote, combining strings. We can use string interpolation to generate a unique string with a recognizable hard-coded part. So this is just an example. Now, what I would now do is I would take this, and then in Obsidian you can do extract current selection. And then I would call this, let's see, it is about combining strings. Well, let's call it combining strings in Bicep here. So this would be my new node, combining strings. I would format it like this. Combining strings in Bicep. Now, there's a visual aspect to having modular nodes. Compare. If I go back to this node, I see the text above. I see the text below. I see a lot of information that is related here. But this actually is quite a lot of stuff to process for your brain and for your eyes. When I go into my node here, what I have is a small piece of text. I have one thing to focus on. I don't have all of this context around me. I am now only thinking of combining strings in Bicep. Now, what this would do is, okay, first of all, I already see a spelling mistake. This can get lost into the sea of information when you work with bigger parts of text. So here I can see we can use string interpolation to generate a unique string with a recognizable hard-coded part. So here's the code example. And when I would refine this, I would maybe pull in a note about string interpolation as a general programming principle. Maybe I've written about that in Python. So I would link string interpolation in Python. And then I could write here about bicep string interpolation. Let's remove that. Is different from Python string interpolation because, etc. So I would pull in a node that is related, and I would think about, okay, so how is this idea similar or different to that idea? And by thinking about it this way, by speaking about it, by writing about it this way, I will take this concept that I have and look at it from all possible angles and compare it, and I pull it apart and I re-engineer it. And this is done in a visual way by pulling out the node like this so that you can focus on only that thing and only think about this thing. And this is really powerful. This is, I believe, revolutionary in the way you write notes by pulling it out like this, focusing on one thing visually, not having distraction, and actually allowing yourself to go deep on this particular idea. Now, in Obsidian, when you are writing a larger article like this, for example, the beauty is that you can just put an exclamation mark in front of it, and boom, you have your note here. So I do this when I write articles. I will pull in all my different notes. And let's see, do I have a note about, I don't know, Python functions here? Let's say I wanted to have Python functions in here. Then I would have Python functions in here. So that's also an older note that would need refactoring. So you can also visually have these nodes rendered like this using Obsidian. This is why Obsidian is so magnificent. So this was just an example of how the visual aspect plays a role here as well in the deep thinking. Instead of seeing this wall of text, you can actually focus on one node. When you do this, you focus on one node, you go deep, and then you do a quality investment. You do an investment of quality, time. Quality time and effort. Because, like I mentioned, writing is thinking. So when you isolate a thing, you modularize it, you see it as one module. You think about it deeply, you write about it, you invest quality time and effort into it, and you craft this beautiful little node that does its thing, that does its work independently. This way, note-taking becomes a vehicle for comprehension. And what you're doing here is you are doing the heavy lifting up front. So let me attempt to draw like a bar that you would use in weightlifting, where you have the plates like this. I think it would be like this. This attaches it to the bar. Well, I should not try to draw beautifully. Oh, you get the idea. You would grab the bar and then you would start deadlifting, right? So this is the bar. You do the heavy lifting of the writing, of the thinking beforehand. When each node is beautifully crafted and can work independently, you do the work beforehand. And then when the time comes to sit down and write an article, you pull in all of these beautiful crafted nodes who all are ready for publication, and boom, within a matter of minutes, you can have an article if you do your work well. You do the heavy lifting up front. You form the ideas completely, you examine it from all angles, you link it to other nodes, and you describe how it can be opposing or similar to your other nodes, and you have done the thinking. You understand the concept, and it is done. Now, when you have this collection of independently crafted nodes, like I mentioned, you can start trying them out in different contexts. I mean, who speaks about note-taking and the UNIX philosophy, right? This is a unique idea that I had as I was writing this article. And that was made possible because I have all of these notes on note-taking. I've done so much deep thinking on note-taking, but I'm also a tech worker. I'm a DevOps engineer, and I almost wanted to say a programmer, but I'm not a professional programmer yet. But I was able to pull in this note about the UNIX philosophy into this because I had done the thinking about it earlier. And I could place it and I could try it out. Like, does this fit? And I thought, yeah, this actually fits really well. So you can experiment. I could have pulled in a note about, I don't know, cooking or how spices can unexpectedly strengthen other tastes. I don't know. I'm just making this up, but everybody is unique. Everybody has their own unique interests, and everybody will have their own unique note-taking systems, and they would pull them in their own unique way, leading to very creative new ideas. So with these nodes, they become building blocks. They can be rearranged. And one thing that I use this for, actually, I will just briefly show this before I end the video because it's already getting a bit long, but I do want to highlight this. Let's see. One way that you can use this is this. So this is the canvas that I used for creating my Zettelkasten course. And if you don't know, I have a course on the Zettelkasten method. It has now over 1,100 students, and I believe it's one of the best resources on the Zettelkasten method on the internet. I'm getting really high reviews. You can purchase it on Udemy, or you can choose to enter my school community. It is $35 a month, but then you get access to all of my courses on note-taking, and you have access to the community where you can ask questions to fellow note-takers or me directly. You can join the Q&A calls, and it's a great way to accelerate your own note-taking journey and to connect with other fellows in the tech industry. So this course was created by pulling in all of my different notes and creating a canvas like this. I use this to create the overall structure of the Zettelkasten course. So here is some of the structure, like what is a Zettelkasten? Well, I have a note about that. And I have a note about how it was invented by Nicholas Luhmann, that he was the master of his craft. And all of these notes are individually crafted to perfection. And here I would have another concept, like how the Zettelkasten method improves productivity. And here I go into actually writing the notes, how to take notes, writing is thinking, fleeting notes. So I use this to actually create a larger structure out of all of these notes that I had. And this process by itself caused me to refine each of these notes and to do very deep thinking about this. So here's a whole area about the Zettelkasten lifestyle that this philosophy that I created about it, that I explain in detail in my course, but that you see yourself as a factory with input and output, and how you should limit your input in order to generate quality output. So these tools like Obsidian allow you to take out all of these well-crafted notes, arrange them, experiment with them, create connections between them, and play with them. And this has been a massive, massive accelerator in my own thinking. So this is what I think allows for a very effective way of thinking and handling your notes. I think this is one of the ways how the Zettelkasten method actually makes you more productive, because you spend quality time with each note. You can reuse your note. So that is really important. This makes you really productive, because if you do the heavy lifting once, then you don't have to think about it the next time when you do it. So when you have a large collection of well fleshed out ideas, you can create very easily. You can create many different articles by combining the same elements into different unique orders. So recycling makes one very productive. You recycle your own thinking, your own effort. And then lastly, there is this visual aspect of it where you break out a note and you allow yourself to be sucked into that note. And there is an element of the ability of focus and being able to stick to one idea for a certain period of time and really give it the quality attention to craft something beautiful out of it. So this is one aspect of why I think the Zettelkasten method makes you more productive. I highly recommend you try it out and check out my course if you want to know more, or join my school community. It is seriously the best way to learn this. So thank you for your attention, and I hope to see you in the next video.